Alright, hi there folks. It's me, Brandon Wenzel again. Sawat D. Howdy! What do you do I don't know. So, anyway, that's the hand gesture for howdy now. Just, woo-hoo-hoo. I'm Brandon Wenzel, as I just mentioned. I'm also, hopefully, if you're watching these videos, and I'm not doing this for no reason whatsoever, I am your guide to all things martial arts cinema related. And so if you saw my previous two videos, and you know what I'm going on about. And I'm reviewing martial arts movies. That's what I'm doing with this whole thing right here. This little box thing that I can see because I'm doing this on my tablet. That's what I'm doing. So, if you watched my last video, which if you didn't, why wouldn't you? It's amazing. I have testimony saying that it's amazing. Why wouldn't you watch it? I don't know. I'm not sure why you wouldn't watch it, but I don't think you watched it. But that's okay. But if you did, then you would know that movie I'm reviewing today, for you and for me, because I got to watch it last night, was, of course, the David Bradley epic spectacular boom! American Samurai. So, again, if you watched my last video, I didn't really know who David Bradley was offhand, but I thought I knew who he was, and I was right. He actually was star of some of the American Ninja films. So, David Bradley is both a ninja and a samurai, but only in America. I have to stress that. He firmly does not have his Japanese ninja and or samurai license strictly in America. And I don't know how those equivalent, but that said, so this was kind of like this was done after the American Ninja films, so I think you could pretty well tell that this was kind of trying to bounce off the American Ninja thing. Unfortunately, I don't think it had quite the success that the American Ninja films did, in that, there are like 4 or 5 of those, and this is just the one. There's only one American Samurai. So, that's okay. One is good enough. One is good enough. So, David Bradley. David Bradley stars it. It also has Mark Dacascos. I'm going to go into both these folks just a little bit. David Bradley, bona fide badass. He's actually done quite a few films, though I don't know, he may or may not be kind of semi-retired from films at this point. I'm really not sure exactly, but I didn't see a lot of credits for him after a certain point, so that's kind of my guess. But he's done quite a few films. But the guy, like I said, is a bona fide badass. He's like, I think he's like, 3-time karate champion or something like that. He holds like various black belts in various disciplines. So he's firmly a type of guy who you don't want to just, unknowingly tap him on the back, because he may very well just turn around and kick your head off out of instinct. So, and he's, aside from, kicking your head off, what a weird reputation I've just given David Bradley. Don't touch David Bradley. Ever. Or he'll kick your fucking head off. But I'm not sure if he would resent that or not. I personally would love it if I had that. That would be awesome, I mean, come on. Who doesn't want to be able to kick somebody's head off? But whatever. So, and I'm going to get this out of the way real quick, because I want to get out of this. I want to get into the meat of the film. Co-starring is, as his douchebag brother, is a guy named Kenjiro. Why don't I have David Bradley's character's name on here? Off the top of my head. Very simple. It does not say so on the back of the box, and I don't remember from the film, though it does say Mark Dacascos' character's name, Kenjiro. And, oh no, it does! David Bradley is Drew. I'm gonna keep calling him David Bradley, because I have a friend named Drew, and Drew is awesome, but he's not. He doesn't have the reputation of head kicking off that David Bradley does. So I'm just gonna keep calling him David Bradley. Anyway, Mark Dacascos, He was born in, like, Hawaii. He's another guy. He's, like, trained in, like, capoeira, I think taekwondo, like, a bunch of stuff. Like, he's another guy who, again, you don't want to make any sudden movements around him, alright? Because he might just instinctively over there jump kick you through a wall. Between the two of them, really, like a surprise party, it would end up in the bloodiest massacre you've ever seen if you tried to throw a surprise party for either and or both of these two, because they would just murder everybody in the room. So, I guess unless the people throwing the party were like, you know, Don the Dragon Wilson and, like, you know, Vincent Zhao or something like that. Then it would just be an epic kung fu fight, and someone would have to be in the room with a video camera, I suppose. So, that said, what's the movie about? What's happening in its thing? Alright, so, David Bradley's over there, and he's in this movie. Now, he starts out the movie not as David Bradley, but as David Bradley Baby. And David Bradley Baby's over there, and he's in a plane. He's one of these little shit planes that, you know, flying across the sky. And he's with his parents, you know, or people who stole him. You presume they're his parents. They say they're his parents, but I don't know. That'd be a hell of an interesting spin. Like, you know, if they ever decided to do a sequel to this film or something like that, find out that David Bradley Baby was, like, stolen or something like that, you know, and his real parents are looking for him. There you go. Why am I thinking this shit? Why the hell is it Hollywood or Bollywood? Why is this left to me? Why do all the good ideas come from crackpots like me? Anyway, they're over there, they're flying over presumably Japan. And plane starts going over there, it starts going control, which is just that is just the international noise for you're fucked in a plane. You're done. That's it. Unless apparently you're a baby. And if you put the baby in the back seat, specifically, the baby will be fine. And I just want to mention this. I did just want to mention, so I don't know if this is one of those, like, things that, like, nature thought up, you know, kind of like how you can toss a baby in water and it'll instinctively know how to swim, or how they have kind of like babies have sort of like a natural bounce to them. Don't take that too seriously, by the way. I don't want you drowning your babies or, you know, playing basketball with them or something like that. Don't do that. But if you what I'm going on about is that I don't know if this is one of the nature's little advantageous things where it's just like, look, you know, nature or God or whatever was over there, and it's just like, look, I've been watching these humans for a while now, and I'm not gonna lie, eventually they're just gonna end up, like, catapulting a child, or just, like, throwing him around, or they might even try to fucking fly at some point in time. I should probably go over there and make the children, like, fall-proof from X height, at the very least. And, you know, so I don't know if that's one of those things that nature came up with, but yes, apparently babies are, in fact, plane crash-proof, so, but only if you put them in the backseat. So if you happen to be in a plane, you're over there. That really, by the way, is kind of the whole thing, what everybody bitches about when you're on a plane and you get the crying child. Well, that's your way to kind of, like, turn a negative into a positive. The next time, if you're in a plane crash, and I don't want to make too much, I don't want to make too much light of a plane crash, because we unfortunately did just have the Malaysian plane that unfortunately went missing, and so I'm not making light of plane crashes, even though I'm joking about it. I don't care, damn it, I'm not being a dick. You know I'm not. But anyway, if you're over there and you're in a plane that isn't the Malaysian plane, and it's gonna fall, go over there, grab that crying baby, put it firmly over your head, and hopefully you'll survive. Apparently you'll be fine. The more babies you can surround yourself with the time of an impact, the better. And don't worry about the babies. As long as they're in the backseat, they'll be fine. That's what this movie taught me. So anyway, David Bradley Baby goes over there, smashes into the ground, and magically survives because he's a baby. And he's picked out by, you know, of the flaming wreckage by, of course, because it's Japan, just, you know, expert swordsman decides he's going to go over there, save David Bradley Baby. And he has his own son by this point, who isn't Mark Dacascos' baby, because Mark Dacascos' baby isn't in this movie. You don't get to see him as a baby, but you do get to see David Bradley baby, and he brings the two of them up to be brothers, and David Bradley goes from being David Bradley baby to being like David Bradley 8-year-old, and eventually David Bradley teenager, because when you know martial arts, by the way, you age very rapidly, you become like physically, at your peak, and then you just stop for like the next 50 years or so, until one day ninjas eventually come to kill you. That's how all expert martial artists die. They don't die from old age. They just don't. Anytime you've ever heard of one dying from old age or from disease, the ninjas eventually got them. It was an off day or something. If you've seen the first Undisputed film with Wesley Snipes, he has a whole little thing about that, how no matter how good you are, everybody has their day. And that refers to ninjas. That's what he was talking about in that movie. About the ninjas that will come to get you if you're a martial artist. So, anyway, David Bradley baby grows up into David Bradley the man. He's David Bradley the man, and he's this guy now. So he's over there with Mark Dacascos, who's not Mark Dacascos, teenager, whatever. He's just Mark Dacascos now because they're both adults. And the master of this whole thing goes over there and basically is like, all right, look, here's how it goes. David Bradley. David Bradley. I'm not calling him Drew. I went into that. I'm not, it doesn't sound right to me. David Bradley is David Bradley. So it's like, David Bradley, you're a cool guy. You've been pretty decent son. I went over there and took you out of the wreckage of a firing, plane crash, which received no scars or burns or anything, because I'm a sword master and I can do that shit. Quick note on that, by the way. Something that they never address in the film. That was a hell of a nice thing of him to go over there and dig out David Bradley baby out of the fiery wreckage. It's a hell of a nice thing for him. That said, they never address in the film if David Bradley baby had any other relatives. Like, and even if he didn't, I don't know that the guy who found the baby gets to keep the baby. Like, I don't think there's an international salvage law on babies like there are with boats. Like, you just find a baby, and as long as you tow it into shore, the baby is legally yours. And even then, I think, like, international salvage is like, it's like X% of the value of the boat. So then you'd get, like, X% value of the baby. You have to, like, weigh the baby against some gold on the other scale, or something, I don't know. But that's never addressed. You just effectively stole a baby, as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, he grows up with Mark Dacascos. And Mark Dacascos is a dick, because he's over there, he's all like, blah, 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 fuck David Bradley. I don't have a brother, I'm a dick. I don't know why I'm a dick, I'm just a dick. So Mark Dacascos is over there being a dick, and he's all... Master's over there, he's like, look, David Bradley, you're a pretty cool guy. My son's kind of an asshat. Here's how this is going to go down. I'm going to go over there, we got the swords. Sword. Family sword, passed down from generation to generation, so on and so forth. I'm going to give it to you. Because, again, my son's a dick. And I shouldn't give a dick an awesome sword like this. When you're a dick, you just don't get an awesome sword. You just don't. Unless you're, like, super mega evil or something like that, then, maybe you get an awesome sword. So, gives him the sword, which effectively gives him, like, the whole, effectively the inheritance of, the family title and that whole thing. Which pisses off Mark Dacascos to no end. So much so he decides to hiss like a cat at David Bradley in possibly the greatest... just most underwhelming attempt to go over there and be threatening from one martial artist to another. If you want to go over there and, threaten another martial artist, hissing at them, probably not your best bet. Throw a punch, throw a kick, draw a sword, do something. Do not hiss at him. The minute he hissed at him, he lost the movie. That's what the fuck happened. That's where Mark Dacascos, like, there's always, like, some there's always some moment in a given villain's thing where they fuck something up, which eventually leads to hissing at David Bradley was it. If he hadn't have done that, he might have been fine. So, anyway, fast forward, David Bradley's in America, he's got the sword, he's a guy. Mark Dacascos, now he's part of the Yakuza, because he's like, I'm part of the Yakuza. And, so they're over there, they're doing their whole thing, and, one day David Bradley's over there, he's over there at night, and some douchebags show up. And they're gonna go over there and they're gonna steal the blade, the family sword. So, despite the fact that David Bradley at one point had the lights on, and they were clearly right outside the door, they apparently completely just gloss over the fact, hey, the lights are on. Great goons you hired there, by the way. Mark Dacascos, a.k.a. Kenjiro. Great plan, buddy. So, anyway, they get in, David Bradley's like, who are you? And they're like, we're goons. And he's like, well, I'm David Bradley, and I don't appreciate goons in my fucking living room. They're like, well, right, and we get that a lot, but we're goons. What do you want? What do you want from us, man? This is our job. And David Bradley's like, fair enough, but I can't just let I can't let you just. I'm gonna have to kick the shit out of you, right? You know that, right? And they're like, no, that's fair enough. That's part of this whole thing. That comes with the job territory. So, fair enough. Do what you have to do. We'll do what we have to do. Apparently what they have to do is go over there and shoot one of their friends in order to shoot David Bradley. Then making the you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs. Which, by the way, is why I would never be part of the fucking goon union. Because if I die, it's just like, my closest friends are just gonna go over there and make a crappy analogy about fucking omelets when they shoot me and I die. Fuck you guys, man. What pricks. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the guy was like a pedophile or something, but they never go into that. Why would they be, if you're going to be just I am working for the goons of this country, of the International Goon Alliance, okay? I'm trying to help them out a little bit. That's what I'm trying to do. So, they shoot him. They steal the sword. David Bradley ends up getting shot. He apparently goes on an acid trip because it becomes a Technicolor dream sequence where it's just fucking Doctor Who opening type thing. It's also the perfect just 1990s film effect. Early 1990s film effect. I love it, by the way. So anyway, moving on from that. So David Bradley's over there. It's like some years later. He's a journalist now for some reason. And some guy in Turkey got killed who's like a guy that he knew. And, lo and behold, he got killed by a katana. What katana could it be? It could only be the one. Which it would have been more interesting if it wasn't Kenjiro. If it turned out Kenjiro went on a bender and, whenever they got in his fucking car and whenever crashed into a pole or something like that. And David Bradley just went on this whole big quest for some guy who wasn't Kenjiro. I had no idea who it was. I want to see that movie. Again, why am I coming up with this shit? Do your job, Hollywood, or whatever equivalent. I don't care. But no, of course it's Kenjiro. It just is. So it goes to Turkey with this chick she's like the photographer for his whole journalism thing. And so they're going to go over there, they're going to go to Turkey. She's kind of a pain in the ass. There's the most awkward lovemaking scene in cinema history. Some of you folks might have seen, or at least heard of, the rather notorious film now, The Room. And that has a pretty fucking awkward lovemaking scene. I would probably argue that this beats it the fuck out. I'm fairly certain that the two people involved with it were not the actor and actress who were actually in the scene. I'm pretty sure they shot it at a separate point in time because they never show the faces or anything, and it's always just kind of in the shadows and stuff, and it's just I'm pretty sure they just paid two people to go over there and look, $500, just roll around in the bed awkwardly with your shirts off, and we'll slap it in there. It'll be a movie. So that's that. awkward lovemaking scene. So they go to Turkey. Now, one thing that I want to bring up about Turkey and through this movie is that I'm a man who loves a good hat, and I appreciate a good hat. And one of the greatest hats, if not, maybe not the greatest, but certainly one of the greatest hats ever invented, is the fez. The fez is awesome because it's an absurd little hat that I think it has some sort of like back heritage or something. Didn't they used to use it as like a cup or something? I don't know, but it's an awesome hat. That doesn't matter. Like, okay, like here's like the Pope hat. That's like the king of hats. And then it's like after that, it's like I think like top hat and fez are like somewhere in there for me. You gotta love a good fez, and this movie is filled with them. So I appreciated that. I really did. So David Bradley goes over there, and he's trying to track down, this guy, because he's got to find, the guy who killed the guy who, of course, he thinks is Kendro. And, of course, it is Kendro. And this ends up leading to this whole underground fighting ring. In fact, one of the... I don't even think it's a review. Usually they have, little review things, from, sources. This doesn't have a source, so I think this is just, the opinion of whoever the fuck came up with the DVD or whatever. It's blood sport with blades as two top martial arts master draw swords. And it kind of is. To be entirely honest with you, it kind of is. It's a whole underground fighting thing, that, you've seen it, particularly in the 90s, they did this thing quite often. And, so David Bradley ends up getting kind of wrapped into this whole thing. And one of the great things about this being a 90s film is that all of the contestants are absurd in a way that you just can't. I don't think you could get away with it then. let me go ahead and say that. I don't think you could really get away with that. I don't think you could show this film to audiences and have them buy, okay, here's this guy who's clearly, it's not even an issue. It's not even an issue of this is my interpretation of the man. He flat out just looks like he's Conan the Barbarian, and he's literally, in the credits he's listed as Conan. That's his name. So he clearly was, supposed to be Conan. Fighting this guy who's basically, this kind of muscle-bound Fabio-looking dude. And it's I don't think you would ever have sold anybody on it, but you're definitely not going to do so now. Maybe people were still coming off the Coke benders in 1992 of the 80s, and maybe that's why they were willing to buy, a Viking and a pirate and a fucking cowboy with a fucking big-ass Bowie knife or whatever the fuck you want to call it. But that's what makes this shit. That is what is awesome about these type of films, B-movie martial arts films, is that they were just allowed to be absurd and fun and awesome for the sake of awesome, and that's what they do with this film. So he gets forced into this whole thing. He has to fight this whole thing with this eclectic group of individuals, and they're over there, they're doing this whole thing, and it's I have a little cheat sheet here because I just watched this movie last night, so I want to, I didn't want to bring up, there's an awesome part in the movie where the aforementioned cowboy with the Bowie knife pulls out his Bowie knife, and then 50% of the club pulls out knives. So apart from there being a lot of fezzes, apparently it's just the fez and knife shop guy has got it fucking made. Okay? Going down to the deep south and there being a beer and gun emporium. That has got to be the equivalent in Turkey in this film of just a gun, your one-stop shop for fezzes and guns. If you need fezzes and guns, and there's a jingle in there somewhere. I'm not going to do a jingle. If I can think of a jingle, I might do a jingle at the end of this, but I probably won't be able to. Anyway, so there's those guys. There's a Viking guy. He's got a big fucking, double-edged axe. There's a Viking guy. There's 2 Chinese fighters, only one of whom has a cobra on his face. And he lost. What the fuck, cobra face guy? That's what you get for having a cobra on your face. I mean, you know, the other guy, I mean, it's clear martial arts math. If you go over there, if you put a cobra on your face, you're going to lose the fight. You just are. So, you know, there you go. I just helped you out. I don't know how it equates to, like, non-Chinese fighters, by the way. Like, I don't, you know, maybe if you fight, like, a Korean fighter, maybe the cobra on your face will help you. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm not sure on the cobra math. I'll look into it. I'll get back to you on the cobra math. So, cobra face math. Anyway, so, yeah, that's cobra face math thing. So, they go over there, they get into this whole fight thing, and David Bradley goes over there. He kind of teams up to a certain extent with the cowboy guy. Not teams up, they're kind of friends. Cowboy guy's like, this is my last shot because I'm a cowboy. I don't know why the fuck would this guy be in this situation? Like, it's just kind of absurd because he's just, but it doesn't matter. He manages to take out a one-eyed pirate. I'll give him that. That was cool for him. He's like, Bowie knife, thunk, in the dude's leg. That took him out of the fight. That was an awful pirate, by the way. Terrible pirate. So David Bradley reluctantly gets involved in this whole thing. He beats the shit out of a fucking Viking guy. Eventually goes over there and fights the Fabio dude. Fabio dude, by the way, it's a guy named Ron Vrieken. Shows him in Rage and Honor 2, was Thor, some other films. Like, he's around. If you follow particularly these types of films, you've probably seen him in something. So, there's some pretty cool fight. You know, let me gonna go into this a little bit as far as, like, because I mean, from there, it's basically, it's what you expect. Of course, you know, it's this to this to this. You know, cowboy dies. Oh no, cowboy's dead. You know, and then, you know, the eventual standoff between Mark Dacascos and David Bradley. You knew was coming, of course. So, what do I say about the film other than of course what I've already said? I firmly love B-movie martial arts, and I particularly love B-movie martial arts made in, like, the 90s, because back in the 90s, anybody who, you didn't even have to have a black belt necessarily, you just had to have a belt, even if it was just a normal belt that was black. They were going to give you a martial arts film. They just were. You couldn't stop them. Because it really was during this whole, like, kind of kickboxing, karate explosion that happened at that point in time. Kind of like what you have with, like, MMA and UFC and stuff now. That was that then. And, you know, so you ended up with guys like David Bradley and Mark Dacascos and stuff like that doing films like American Samurai. And this film firmly falls into there because, well, you know what? Actually, let me not say that. I won't say firmly. I don't have a better adjective. But the reason why I point that out, you know, because this is the more, I guess, legitimate part of my review. I will give this movie credit in that a lot of films that came out around this time, that, you know, these type of films, particularly ones that had anything to do with Japan, they would come up with a whole lot of just, like, Americanized hokum bullshit about, you know, Japanese culture, whatever they were trying to convey, they would find a way to convey it. And I'm not going to say that there is a some of that in this film, but actually they actually probably did a much better job than you would expect in going into elements of, like, you know, Japanese swordplay, the mentality of the swordsman. You even get some cool Minamoto Musashi facts in there, and, you know, and they didn't botch it, which was pretty cool. Even the fights, you know, there's definitely, you know, it's definitely over stylized at times. Particularly the fights with the swords, you know, between Kenjiro and Mark Dacascos. I mean, I'm not going to say they're the most accurate representation of, you know, Japanese swordplay ever, but if you've seen some of these movies, I mean, katanas come out a lot in these films, particularly in the 90s films, because, I mean, every damn thing pretty much ended up with a katana fight at one point in time or another. Even if you had no right to be wielding a katana in one of these films. This one isn't that. They actually did a pretty good job with it, which was surprising as hell for me. So that's probably the best aspect of it. The fights are pretty entertaining for what they are. Some of them are a little bit here or there. I'm going to go into one thing about in a second here, but the bad about this movie, I guess, again, aside from the super awkward love scene, the Technicolor dream sequence, and just, some of the other stuff. I got some notes down there. But anyway, aside from that, you definitely, it comes close to not, but then it does. It falls into some of the pitfalls of the B-movie martial arts films that you see a lot of in these films. Like, there's definitely scenes that are, I don't want to say out of order, but they definitely had to film, whether it was, conflicting schedules or whatever. There's definitely scenes where, there's like an interrogation scene, and then they come back to that later on, and you're supposed to believe that, these are two separate events, even though David Bradley's over there still wearing the exact same shirt, and Mark Dacascos is, and you see little things like that. There's, the Conan the Barbarian guy gets killed in the very first fight, and then you see him in the training thing later. And that happens like once or twice. So there's little pitfalls like that. But I will say this, it does a pretty decent job of it. Up until the end. The end fight... My philosophy on the end fight of any martial arts film is that it should be the highlight film. Or it should be the highlight fight of the film. It really should. And you've got David Bradley, you've got Mark Dacascos. They're both wielding katanas in a death fight. Okay, so there you go. That's your end fight, right? You have these two people in a room with katanas. They're about to fight. This should be amazing. Oh wait, no you don't. I'm legitimately convinced in watching the end fight that for 90% of the fight, these two were not in the same room together. And I don't mean that like I don't mean that as like being like a derogatory joke towards the two of them, like they just phoned in the fight or something. No, I mean legitimately, I don't think they were in the same fucking room together. You never see them, with the exception of like one or two scenes, you never see the two of them actually fight against one another. One guy will do this, and then the other guy will be they'll pan to, another shot, and the other guy will do this. So, I don't know if this was a scheduling conflict or what, but boy oh boy does it fuck up the end fight for me. Which was really disappointing because, of course you're waiting for this is what you want. And then it's kind of short, and I don't know, it fell apart for me a little bit at the end there. Not even a little bit. That bummed me out. And it's not, like I said, it's not to speak ill of these guys. I'm sure if you went over there, if you had the sequence, I don't know why they couldn't be there. Maybe they couldn't be bothered. Or maybe there was an injury or something. I don't know. But it definitely felt like the two of them weren't in the same room together. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not wrong. I'm not even going to say maybe I'm not. But yeah, the way that they filmed it, you can tell, of course, you've got financial restrictions, you've got, time restrictions and stuff. So they tried their best, and their best was pretty good. I'd say firmly somewhere in the middle of the pack. If the end fight had been better, I think maybe it would have, rose to a greater occasion. But it just, the end fight really kind of botched it for me. The only other thing that I wanted to bring up about this film, real quick, is that I looked into this film, like trying to find out, some interesting fun facts about it or anything that I could convey to you. By the way, I did want to bring this up real quick. One of the fighters, I'm not sure exactly which one, I think it was one of the Chinese fighters. I don't think it was Cobra Face Man. I think it was the other guy. It was a guy named Anthony Steto. I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name all that well. But he's gone on, a lot of these guys have gone on, done stunts still lately. But he actually went on and directed a film that came out a few years ago, which wasn't a great film, but you might have seen it if you're a fan of these films, called Wushu, or if you're in America, Jackie Chan Presents Wushu. So that's the director of that guy. So good for him. Good to see that after killing the man with the cobra on his face, that he went on to greater heights. Because you can only kill so many guys with cobras on your face. At a certain point, you wake up, you wake up one night in a stupor. There's just nothing but guys with cobra faces on the ground that you've murdered, and you've just got to get your life together. You just do. So, I'm going to try to close this off here pretty soon. It's well a little longer. The thing that I want to bring up is, in looking this up, apparently this version, the American version, is the crap version of this movie. Turns out that I guess they edited a bunch of shit so that... see this thing right here? Rated R? Yeah. Apparently there's an unrated version of this movie that isn't this one. But apparently you can buy like the UK version, which only has like a second cut out. But apparently it's more graphic. Maybe it makes the end fight better. Maybe, they cut out the scenes where the two of them are actually in the room together. I don't know. But I'm going to look into that. I'm going to have to find a copy of it. And I'll probably do a second review, or maybe just like a little mini review. Just a little one. Whatever, you get the pen in me. Yeah. I need that in my hand. Why do I keep... Yeah, it's good visual aid, though. And it's done. I just threw it done across the thing. Anyway. So yeah. That's basically my review for the whole thing. I went through the good, some of the bad. On the scale of negative fucking 30, that is Ninja Revenge. Negative 30. And 10 being, I gotta come up with a good analogy here, folks. Yeah, I don't know. Philip Ree and Don the Dragon Wilson fighting Richard Norton and Vincent Zhao, in a street fight in front of your house. That's my analogy for number 10. Where does this movie fall? I'll give it like a 5, maybe. 5.5. 5.5. I'll be nice. 5.5. Which is kind of like Don the Dragon Wilson, Vincent Zhao, Philip Ree, and Richard Norton, like, hanging out in front of your house, like King of the Hill style. Just still kind of cool, but you're just like, come on, kick some ass. But still, that would be amazing. Yeah, that might be better than a 5.5. But whatever, it's still pretty, you get what I'm saying. So anyway, that's my review for the movie, for American Samurai. So my next review, I'm going to do kind of a little bit of a marathon-ish thing. God damn it, I keep wanting to make these shorter. I keep rambling on. But oh well. I'm going to do a Cynthia Rothrock marathon in honor of her birthday being, I think, last week or a little bit before that. I'm going to go into some of that stuff there. Start off with Lady Dragon. That'll be my next review, okay? Hopefully you'll watch it. I apologize these keep running later than I intend them to. Blame Mark Dacascos. He's a bastard in this movie. Blame him. Blame him. By the way, I'm going to make it run longer. I just did want to bring up that I did actually really like Mark Dacascos as the villain in this. He actually does a damn fine job of it. That's my ending note. I'm done. I swear I am. It's under 40 minutes. Oh, I gotta do the ending. Damn it. Okay. All right. All right. Under 40 minutes. So, because I'm the best of the best with both book and sword, and I'm friends with the Black Cobra because we were raised in the City of Vengeance, I am Brandon Wenzel, and I review martial arts films. Under 40 minutes, bitches. Yeah.